Gallery in New York. Prior to that, Art Mocha, Sideshow in Bushwick. He did. These were some group shows also. So here's his. This is his. I didn't even want it. It's so long, but Lester's really interesting because his work is really aesthetically beautiful, but he paints. It's very spiritual. And we were talking about painting, and we started talking about his life. It's very personal, but he meditates, and then I guess these paintings come to him through his meditative practices, and then he creates the paintings, which are just really, his use of color and imagery is beautiful. So I'll let you take over from there, Lester. So if yeah, you have to unmute him, Lisa.
Mute. Okay, there I am. Hi. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you show all three pictures a few seconds each? Because they're an overview of like 4 decades of growth. So this is the earliest. This is from 1982. That's the latest from about, I think I finished this Friday. And the first one that was shown was a shape canvas from 1989, which is about 95 inches from top to bottom and 79 from side to side. So if we could go back to that year, go to this. This is called Fertile Sea. And I think the reason I brought these three images, chose these three images, is because they kind of describe an arc of growth. This painting was painted in 1982. A decade earlier, I had begun to be symptomatic of bipolar. And for a decade, it was a very dark time. And looking at this painting and understanding it in a way that I never had before, I realized that it's a bioorganic expression of birth, of coming into being. And to put this in context, I think that in around 1976 or so, I remember feeling like an absolute burnt out shell, beyond hopeless, beyond depression, just absolute void of feeling any kind of humanity. And these paintings, for about 3 years, I painted pictures that were about reconnecting, regrowing, strengthening myself. And the act of pouring, which these paintings, the image, this kind of organism that looks like it's newly born, very, very empowering, just pouring the paint, letting it happen. So I think the expressive sense of hope and renewal is something that I'm starting to really understand in this series of paintings in a more profound way. Okay, go to release, the shape canvas. Next, the shape canvas. Yeah, yeah. These paintings, for about 7 years, I painted pictures that came after the paintings like Fertile Sea, that the best I understand them now, they're kind of like about a world space. a cosmic consciousness, a macro intergalactic kind of poetry of complex time and or times, and not only being macro, larger than us, but reflecting on the internal space that we have as well. The thing about these is that they were a culmination of reading layman's books on relativity theory and quantum physics and astrophysics, as well as books by an integral philosopher by the name of Ken Wilber, especially a book called Up from Eden, which was his sense of the evolution of human consciousness. So they had these paintings, although they're I think, quite poetic, they have a real intellectual background to them. There's a lot of intellectual concept brought to the imagery. I thought I was going to be I thought I hit the vein when I started painting these pictures. And this painting, which was 1989, was the last year I painted these. And the prior, from 83 to then, were not shaped canvases. They were mostly squares, and I think maybe 8 really large horizontal or vertical paintings. The shape canvases were the most difficult to kind of structurally create. They were real. I was really pushing myself in creating the dynamic balance and the complexities. But these kind of ended after a year, and then I left this whole sense of having an intellectual program behind and started painting purely intuitively. And after doing that for about a year, I began to be compelled to meditate. And then the meditation was what gave me the contemplation part of the meditation, gave me the sense of what images I would create. And now you can go to the last one, which is called Tomorrow. This was finished last Friday.
Wow.
And this is after meditation, after 29 years and I'm going strong, meditating. And I guess the way I would talk about it would be, it's an existential, emotional, grounded, centered expression of an expanded here-ness and now-ness. So that's where I am now, and it's been a very interesting journey. Thank you.
Yeah. So I love the background of that painting, Lester. It's so nice. I'd love to see